Mike, excuse me, are you the community advisor here? Sarah, yes, I am. My name is Sarah. How can I assist you today? Mike, hi Sarah, my name is Mike. I just moved to the city and I'm trying to learn about the local laws and customs. I don't want to accidentally break any rules. Sarah, that's a great approach, Mike. Many people don't think about these things until they face a problem. I'd be happy to help. Is there anything specific you'd like to start with? Mike, yes, I'd like to know about general rules, things that I should avoid doing. Sarah, sure, we'll cover some of the most important points. Feel free to ask questions along the way. Mike, are there any activities or places in the city where I need to be extra careful? Sarah, yes, there are a few key rules to remember. For example, littering is not allowed in public places. There are fines for anyone caught throwing garbage on the streets or in parks. Mike, oh, I see. So if I have trash, I need to hold on to it until I find a bin? Sarah, exactly. You'll find trash and recycling bins in most public areas, so it's not hard to dispose of waste properly. Mike, that's good to know. What about smoking? Are there any restrictions? Sarah, absolutely. Smoking is only allowed in designated areas. Smoking in public parks, near schools, or inside public buildings is strictly prohibited. Violating this rule can lead to a fine. Mike, I understand. I'll make sure to look for the designated areas. Sarah, that's the best way to stay out of trouble. Now, when it comes to drinking alcohol, the rules are also strict. You're not allowed to drink in public spaces like parks or on the streets. Mike, so it's only allowed in places like bars or restaurants? Sarah, exactly. As long as the establishment has a proper license, you're fine. Just avoid carrying an open container of alcohol in public places. Mike, got it. Are there any rules about noise levels? Sarah, yes. Quiet hours are from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. in most residential areas. During this time, you should keep noise levels low to avoid disturbing your neighbors. Mike, what if I want to host a small party? Sarah, that's fine, as long as you inform your neighbors and keep the volume reasonable. If someone complains, it's better to address the issue quickly to avoid further problems. Mike, are there penalties for breaking these quiet hour rules? Sarah, yes, there can be fines, or in some cases, law enforcement might issue a warning if the noise continues. Mike, I see. These rules sound fair. It's important to respect the community. Sarah, absolutely. Following these rules helps maintain a peaceful environment for everyone. Mike, thanks for explaining all of this. It's very helpful. Sarah, you're welcome, Mike. Let me know if you need clarification on anything else. Mike, I also wanted to ask about clothing. Are there any dress codes or specific norms I should follow? Sarah, yes, especially if you plan to visit religious or cultural sites. Modest clothing is often required in these places. Mike, what do you mean by modest clothing? Sarah, generally it means covering your shoulders and knees. Some places might also ask visitors to avoid wearing shorts or sleeveless tops. Mike, so if I'm visiting a temple or a mosque, I should be prepared to dress conservatively? Sarah, exactly. You might also want to carry a scarf or shawl with you. It's useful for covering your shoulders or head if needed. Mike, that's good advice. Are there any other customs for visiting these places? Sarah, yes. In most religious sites, you'll need to remove your shoes before entering. There's usually a designated area for leaving shoes, so it's a good idea to wear something easy to slip on and off. Mike, I'll keep that in mind. What about general clothing? Are there any rules for daily life? Sarah, for everyday activities, casual clothing is fine in most areas. However, it's a good idea to avoid overly revealing outfits in public. Mike, Is that because of cultural traditions? Sarah, yes. It's about respecting local values and making a positive impression. Dressing conservatively can help you blend in and avoid unwanted attention. Mike, that makes sense. I'll try to dress appropriately. Sarah, I'm sure you'll do fine. It's always better to be respectful of the culture, especially as someone new to the city. Mike, I agree. Thank you for taking the time to explain all this. Sarah, you're very welcome, Mike. It's great that you're asking these questions. It shows you care about respecting the community. Mike, I really do. It's important to adapt and be mindful of these things. Sarah, you're absolutely right. If you have more questions later, feel free to come back. Mike, I will. Thanks again, Sarah. Mike, Sarah, I'm planning to explore the city, and I'd like to know about the driving rules here. Are there any specific laws I should follow? Sarah, of course, Mike. First, you must always follow the speed limits. In residential areas, the limit is usually 30 to 40 kilometers per h. On main roads, it's around 50 to 60 kilometers per h, and on highways, it can go up to 100 kilometers per h. Mike, okay, so it's important to keep an eye on the speed signs? Sarah, absolutely. Speed signs are posted in most areas, so always look out for them. Also, wearing a seatbelt is mandatory for both the driver and passengers. Mike, what happens if someone isn't wearing a seatbelt? Sarah, if you're caught without a seatbelt, you could get fined. Safety is taken very seriously here. Mike, that makes sense. What about using mobile phones while driving? Sarah, using a mobile phone while driving is illegal unless you're using a hands-free device. If you're caught holding or using a phone, you could face a hefty fine or even lose points on your driving license. Mike, I'll make sure to use a hands-free system if needed. Sarah, that's a good idea. Now let's talk about jaywalking. Do you know what that means? Mike, I've heard the term, but I'm not entirely sure. Sarah, jaywalking means crossing the street without using a designated pedestrian crossing. Here, it's important to use crosswalks or pedestrian lights. Mike, is it illegal to cross anywhere else? Sarah, yes. Crossing in the middle of the road or outside designated areas can lead to fines. It's also dangerous, so always use the pedestrian crossings. Mike, thanks for explaining. I'll be careful about that when walking around. Sarah, you're welcome. Just remember to stay alert, especially in busy areas. Mike, I also wanted to ask about social gatherings. Are there specific customs I should know? Sarah, definitely. Let's start with greetings. Here, people usually greet each other with a handshake, but in more formal settings, a slight nod or bow can also be respectful. Mike, what about when I meet someone for the first time? Sarah, introduce yourself politely, and it's always a good idea to say, "Nice to meet you." For example, you could say, "Hi, I'm Mike. It's nice to meet you." Mike, that's simple enough. What about formal events? Sarah, for formal events, punctuality is very important. Arriving on time shows respect for others. If you're running late, it's polite to inform the host in advance. Mike, I'll make sure to be on time. Are there any rules about table manners? Sarah, yes, during meals. Avoid starting to eat until everyone has been served or the host has started. Also, try not to speak with your mouth full. Mike, are there any specific customs for thanking the host? Sarah, at the end of the event, always thank the host for inviting you. A simple "thank you for having me" goes a long way. If it's a special occasion, you might even consider bringing a small gift, like flowers or chocolates. Mike, that's good advice. Is there anything else I should avoid during social gatherings? Sarah, yes. Avoid interrupting conversations. Wait for your turn to speak and listen carefully when others are talking. It's also polite to ask permission before taking photos. especially if you're in someone's home. Mike, these are really helpful tips. I'll do my best to follow them. Sarah, I'm sure you'll do great. It's all about being respectful and considerate. Mike, thanks for explaining everything, Sarah. This has been really helpful. Sarah, you're welcome, Mike. I'm glad I could help. If you'd like to learn more, we have brochures here at the community center. They cover everything from local laws to cultural etiquette. Mike, that sounds perfect. Are there any online resources I can check out as well? Sarah, yes, I recommend visiting the city's official website. They have a section dedicated to local laws and guidelines for visitors and new residents. Mike, I'll definitely check that out. Sarah, great. And remember, if you ever have more questions or need clarification, feel free to come back. Mike, I appreciate that. It's nice to know there's support for people new to the city. Sarah, of course. We're here to help. Good luck settling in, and I hope you enjoy your time here. Mike, thank you, Sarah. I already feel more confident about fitting in. Sarah, that's wonderful to hear. Take care, Mike, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Mike, will do. Thanks again. Sarah, anytime. Have a great day. Write a sentence in English in the comments section below. Find the mistake. Incorrect. If you caught without a seatbelt, you could get fined. Correct. If you are caught without a seatbelt, you could get fined. Explanation. The verb caught requires the auxiliary verb are to form the passive voice correctly. Incorrect. It's always important to stay alert in busy areas. Correct. It's always important to stay alert in busy areas. Explanation. The infinitive to was missing before stay, which is necessary after important. 5 vocabulary words. Designated, officially chosen or marked for a specific purpose. Hefty. Large or heavy, often used to describe a big fine or amount. Punctuality. Being on time or arriving at the correct time. Etiquette. Accepted rules or customs for polite behavior. Clarification. Making something clear or easy to understand. If you want to learn how to rent a car or bike in English, click the video here or follow the link in the description.